Hey guys, my name is Nibiri and it's time for another kicking of the week, and today I'm going to show you how you can easily make a basic punch out of a 909. And the end result of today's punch is this. And it's quite a basic punch, but I feel that it just works. And of course, if you're gonna make a whole kick around this, you might still want to tweak it a little bit, but to just get the basics down, this is a great start. The plugin that we're going to use to create the 909 is EQ-9, and basically the only thing we do in here is to just take away a little bit of decay, because when you open it up it's just a little bit longer, and we just make it a little bit shorter because we're only working on a punch, and for a punch you don't really need a long tail. But a part of that, we don't really tweak any knobs inside of the plugin. And if we then just loop this and go into the mixer, I'll show you the whole chain over here and why I did every little tweak, so that you can learn how to make your own punch from a 909. And the basic thing we're starting off with is of course just EQing, and after that we're going to distort it a little bit. And this is the first EQ that I put here. I just took frequency that I felt was right for the 909 and I boosted it a little bit. And I'll just disable this low cut for now, because we'll come back to that later. But yeah, we're just boosting our basic frequency to just start it off with. And when you're gonna EQ a 909, or when you're gonna start EQing, I just really recommend that you immediately open up a distortion after that, so that you really hear what that EQ is doing to the sound after the distortion. And I just used the distortion over here, and I just threw everything open to just get some nice and harsh distortion going from the beginning. And after that, I'm just putting these points in here, and I'm just listening to how I want it to sound. And the second peak over here is just to make it a little bit louder. So you change the sound from a little bit more gentle to a more resonant peak in the beginning. And the thing is, we're only focusing on the punch, so that we don't really pay attention to our tail. Now after that, I'm just gonna open up a new EQ, and immediately I'm just opening up another distortion, so that I can really hear what I want to get out of that EQ. And I just used the distortion, and I threw this open all the way as well. And what we're doing in here in that second EQ is we're just listening for what peak kind of makes our punch sound a little bit better already. And yeah, we're just starting out with the peak, and we're just drawing this around and just seeing how it shapes our sound. This, for example, will be a little bit too high, and maybe over here it will be a little bit too low. And over here, at the point that I put it, it's kind of getting a little bit more of a punchy and a mid type of sound. And after I draw this first peak, I'm just listening, like if I can maybe change the sound a little bit more. And I first try to do that with just an extra peak. But as that doesn't really change the sound in the way I want it, I try to get a dip in here. And with the dip, it's just the same. Just listen to the sound and see how it evolves, and see if you can get the right tone out of there. This would have worked as well. I feel like over here the punch really gets a little bit better as well. It gets a little bit more more clear. You hear the punch a little bit better. But in the end, I put the little dip over here. And that just shaped our sound for now. And let's just go on to our next EQ. And of course, after that, I'm just gonna open up the next distortion as well, because then we can really hear again what it's doing. And on this distortion, I just threw it open all the way again. Just a key thing with distortion is just not be gentle with it. For hardstyle, it's really important that you just throw open your distortion and just see what happens to the sound. And if it's too much and if you're getting somewhere but it's a little bit too distorted, then you can maybe take away a little bit, but a part of that I would just 9 out of 10 times just throw open the distortion all the way. And in this EQ, we're just doing the same thing, right? We're just gonna take our peak and we're just gonna listen to where it's boosting the right frequency for our punch. Now this is really in tune with the rest of the punch, and yeah, after that I just take a little dip and just see if I can shape the sound a little bit more differently. So we're just dragging this along and just listening for the sound and just listening how it will change. Now this sounds nice as well, but this sounds a little bit better for the tail. But you can really try and get some real low bells as well, like minus 29 decibels is possible as well. Just listen for the sound and see if you can create something that sounds right. So we have this dip over here and this one, and they just shape the sound a little bit, and now it sounds like this. So it's quite resonant and it's already having some body. And just to make it a little bit more sub heavy and just a little bit more tight, I'm just boosting the bass a little bit. Boosting the bass before some distortion can really just make your sound a little bit more tight, but you don't need to overdo it because then it's gonna get too boomy. But yeah, after this little bass boost, it sounds like this. Sometimes boosting the bass is really important. As you maybe heard, without this low boost, it sounds like this. And with this low boost, it sounds like this. So it's really just getting a lot of body through this little boost over here. And after that, I'm just doing the same thing all over again. So we're just keep looking for the right frequency and maybe some space to dip it. And after that, I just opened up Rift, and Rift is just a nice distortion. And yeah, I just opened up the distortion on both sides all the way. So we have this top side over here. I just kept it on soft, but I opened it up all the way. And the bottom negative side was just opened up all the way as well. Put it to 4 stages, so it's quite an intense distortion as well. And yeah, that's it. And it just shapes our sound a little bit more. So we're going from this to this. And afterwards, I'm just adding some EQ to just balance it a little bit more. But I'm just doing this afterwards because during our sound design process, we don't really focus on if it's balanced yet. We're just creating our sound, right? So we just need to focus on how our sound develops, and afterwards we can balance it out if we want to. And now we're gonna go back to that first EQ, because right now our punch sounds like this. And that sounds all right, but I feel that the punch could have been a little bit better. And just by applying a little bit of a low cut, you can really shape your sound because you're changing the phasing before the entire chain. So if you go to one of your earlier EQs and just apply this low cut and just start sweeping and seeing if it changes your sound, it's an easy way to just maybe put everything in just a little bit of a different order to just sound a little bit better. And I'm going to show you how this little low cut is just shaping our sound differently. As you hear, that really does a lot, but I just put it over here, and right now the punch sounds like this. Now, after you have your punch and you exported this, you can just put an easy club kick underneath there, like I did over here with a Vengeance bass drum. And it's just a matter of preference, of course, and just listening what sounds well with your punch. But the club kick that I took was sounding like this. So that's a quite basic club kick, and I just pogoed this a little bit. And after that, we're just gonna do some minor tweaking to get it to sound a little bit better. So in the mixer, we're gonna put our punch and our club kick to one bus. And in this bus, we're just gonna open up a little bit of an EQ just to boost a little bit of the mids. And sometimes around 2K, you just need to have a little bit of a boost to just get some more punchiness out of there. And I feel it needed it, but it was just some minor EQing. And over here is the point where I just try to be a little bit more gentle with my EQ, right? I'm just putting this at 16%, so it's really low. And even the hard clip and the soft clip aren't open all the way. But that's just because right now I want to glue everything together. I don't really want to shape my sound anymore. So I'm just using some gentle distortion to just glue everything a little bit more together instead of just pushing it through another harsh distortion. Now after that, I'm just balancing this out again with some extra highs because I felt I really needed those. And after that, I'm just gonna apply a compressor. And this compressor is set to give a nice transient to our punch with a little bit of a slower attack, so that it lets through a little bit of that sound before the compression turns on. And yeah, that just shapes the sound a little bit more, creates a little bit of a transient on top of our punch, and that does our final tweaking to our punch. And now our punch sounds like this. So to just quickly sum it up, inside of your EQ, when you want to create your sound, just search for that right frequency, and you're just gonna keep doing that and keep it as basic as possible. Just take one peak and boost it until you find a nice spot, and maybe if you want to, you can just add a little dip, but you don't even have to all the time. And just remember that you don't need to be gentle with distortion. You can just throw it open all the way and just see if it sounds sick. Now I hope you like this and you learned something from this, and hopefully I'll see you back soon again. Cheers!